Agenda is the moment of silence and pledge of allegiance by Councilmember Burrell.
Thank you. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. We'll go ahead with our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Next item agenda is the consent agenda consisting of approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as outlined?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and second. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are going to move up item number 8 on letter E, talking about temporary suspension of curbside recycling program with the city. We have Beth Holbrook from Waste Management here today. I'd like to speak on this before we make any decisions. So Beth, come on up.
So I am plugged in, by the way, but I don't know if you guys can see this. So if you can't, let me know, but I do have it up. So I wanted to thank you for letting me do a presentation today and to kind of update you on kind of how the recycling world is right now. There's probably a lot of information that's flying around, and I'll just kind of wait until this comes up. But one of the challenges is that there does have to be an increased education awareness for your residents. And my goal is to get you and your residents there in a way that's going to be the most effective and the most thorough process possible. So I will say this. Recycling is still a viable proposition. A lot of times what we look at when we look at a recycling commodity, and Waste Management is very still committed to doing recycling, by the way, in case you might have heard something different. Thank you. Is it good? Well, it's not coming up. So basically what happens is when a manufacturer of any kind wants to produce something, they typically take a raw material, they use energy to create it, and now they have a finished product. And then what's the lifespan of that product after they've utilized it? Well, in the case of recyclables, which just to reiterate is it is plastics 1 through 7 only. It is cardboard, which we call corrugated cardboard, just in case you see the term OCC, it's older corrugated cardboard, also known as used. It's mixed paper, and it is aluminum and steel containers like your tuna fish cans and whatnot. Those are the only acceptable recyclable materials that should go in a single stream curbside residential recycling program. And it doesn't look like my program is going to come up, so if you don't mind, I'll just go ahead and go through it. I did send this to Matt, and he has this presentation, and I'll be happy to make sure everyone gets it later. One of the things that I've been in discussion with your city manager and with city staff as well is what is it that we can do to to balance out the cost increases that are being anticipated as a result of changes in the recycling commodities market. And I want people to understand it's a commodity. It's just like soybeans in that sense. It's just like any other product. It goes through ebbs and flows, ups and downs, higher values, lower values. And that is exactly how Waste Management looks at this process. So our standard recycling business model is basically supply and demand. The supply is there. We have a lot of supply. We have a lot of supply right now because we are still making up for China back in May of this year decided they want to do a 30-day moratorium on all recyclables going into the country. China currently has anywhere between 50 and 60% of the recyclables market at this time. It's still not up? Oh, good. And basically what that means is that they decided to do this, and so as the recyclers who are shipping products, we have to work within the guidelines of what that business model is. So we can't ship all of that product, so we're holding on to it, and we held on to it in order to process it and either sell it somewhere else or keep it and utilize it in different ways. Thank you. Okay, so let me just get caught up with myself. One second. Okay. Right now, there is a surplus of materials on there, but China has opened up their markets again. They opened them up in June, and they are taking recyclable products. The bigger challenge is that they are not allowing contamination of the levels that they used to allow, okay? And I'm gonna talk about that just a little bit further, but I just kind of wanted to get that process going. And this is nationwide, by the way, that we process about 40 tons of, oh, I'm sorry, this is Salt Lake City. Sorry about that, 40 tons. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Okay. So this is basically the evolution of recycling. It's a single stream program. So we come to your curbside, we pick it up, we process it, we sell what has value, and then we have to send the rest of it to the landfill. In the past, there was a lot of value, which kept the prices really, really low in terms of the costs. Because as you know, a recycling truck and a garbage truck, same exact cost, right? It's still $330,000. And so one of the things that help keep all of the costs down is the value of the commodities to balance that out. We also wanted to focus on education of the residents and the strict policies that we're trying to implement in terms of what is and is not recyclable. None of that has changed. We want to make sure that residents over time understand that there's no such thing as what we call wish cycling, which means I wish this was recyclable, so I'm going to put it in my recycling bin. That's not going to be effective, because what that does is it increases our processing costs even more, because we have to pick out this product and put it in a landfill as opposed to just processing a material that has value. So here's what has changed. The China market is basically enforcing now their 0.5% contamination rate. So in the past, let me just go back a little bit. I hate to get into the political side of this, but there's just a little bit in here, so roll with me on this. The challenge for us started back in early 2017. There was some speculation that with the United States not joining in with the Trans-Pacific Partnership, that the Chinese wanted to kind of force us into some type of a tighter structure. And so in July of 2017, what they did is they basically enforced what they call the China Sword. And that basically restricts products that are, if they're contaminated in any way, they can reject it and they'll send it back. And that's what they started doing. And although we're the largest processor of recyclable materials in the United States, we aren't the only ones. There's Europe, there are various independents. And so what happened is that China basically started sending those back if there was contamination that they didn't like. So that started last year. And what we did as Waste Management is we tried to keep every city contract whole, because we recognize how challenging it can be to have your prices fluctuate in that level. They have a complete ban of mixed paper right now as well, which increased our operating costs. As a result of China's actions, we basically had to hire more people. So I don't know if you've ever seen like a pick line for recyclable materials, but basically it's just this huge conveyor belt, long, like this whole entire room. And we have people who pick out the contamination materials. And basically we had to hire double the people to process the same exact materials, because we have to adhere to their contamination rates. What used to be, so each bale is about a ton. That used to be 100 pounds of contamination, and that wasn't a problem, but now it's 10. So you can see the huge difference in that. As a result of that, today's contamination rates, although not different necessarily from in the past, different in the sense that we've had to double our processing costs. So roughly, on average, about 25% of what is in a single curbside program right now is considered contamination, which means it does go to the landfill. I think I got ahead of myself, sorry about that. It's just a little talking about some of the global market changes and the impacts on recycling and some of the external factors. There's several articles that you can probably find yourselves, but I do also have those as well. And they basically are talking about some of the structures of recycling and how we need to make sure that recycling is, now some people say the sky is falling, some people say that it's perfectly fine. We as Waste Management say that this is a commodity. Its value is based on the end user purchasing it, just like any commodity. We are fully in the recycling game, so I don't want that to not be part of your discussion. This is just an overview of the commodity structure. As you can see, the U.S. Listed right there, and then China over there. The fiber that they're talking about is actually paper, just so that you know. And then we are also looking at other markets to purchase recyclable materials, including India, Southeast Asia, and we are looking at the possibility that the United States is going to start opening up some markets. But as you know, any business venture is going to take a couple years to gather some momentum. This is a typical single stream composition, and by single stream I mean residential curbside. You'll notice glass in there. That is because this is an average across the United States, so I apologize. We do not accept glass here in the state of Utah at all in a curbside program that is a single stream. In other words, multiple mixed recyclables. You know that Salt Lake City does a separate glass recycling program, but it's a separate container. You can see the bulk of this. So again, OCC, that's old cardboard, corrugated cardboard. That is probably the number one thing that we recycle here in the state of Utah. We also do mixed paper, and mixed paper is basically papers that you have, newspaper, multiple different things. You can see the residue, on average nationwide now is about 21.9%. Mixed plastics are the 0.6%. HDPE is basically a different type of plastic structure, and then PET is another different type of plastics. The HDPE is what your water bottles are made of, your milk jugs. Those have food in them, so they're typically considered a single chemical composition, which makes them recyclable. You can't really tell, there are actually two different colors on here, kind of. But basically you can see that 35% of the single stream materials have positive value today in today's market. Now, I will tell you this, the markets have fluctuated from the moment that we started recycling, so this is not necessarily a new thing. The challenge, of course, is that the largest purchaser of recyclables is kind of playing with the market a little bit. And one of the challenges that we have is that in addition to the trade agreements, there's also now the issue of tariffs. And tariffs, I think, caused a little heartburn with China, and I think that's why they ultimately decided to do a quick moratorium just to kind of see what this did to the markets type of thing, which they did from April of this year to May to June, excuse me. So this is kind of like the pricing, and you can see how it's tracing from 2016, 2017, and 2018. Obviously, it's a huge price swing. Again, it is a commodity, and this is mixed paper. And mixed paper is accepted in certain areas of the world and not in China today.
Beth, I got a question. I don't mean to
You
interrupt.
bet,
but
and
just-
please
we're-
interrupt me because I could probably get in the
As
weeds
we're talking, and I
real fast.
understand this, that I understand we were kind of the assumption, we need to hurry and make a decision because this was going to happen. But come to find out, we don't need to be in that much of a hurry to make this decision to continue recycling or not. That you would give us a few more months down the road to sit down, have a work session, whatever we call it, with you to see what would be amenable to both sides if it's still possible. Is that kind of the outcome what we're looking to go for?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Um,
Now, question for that is how long would you be willing to put that out for?
So what I would like to say that we do is we take, since this is July, I say we take a good 4 to 6 months, depending upon the scheduling. I recognize that, that everyone kind of has vacation schedules in the summer. So what I'd like to do is propose 4 to 6 months, and in that time frame, we set up a work schedule, a work session, so that there can be an in-depth analysis of how this can look, what this will look like to your residents, and what we can do moving forward.
Okay, with the understanding the rates are just going to stay the same until we sit down and
That
work
is
something
correct.
out. Is that correct?
Rates will stay the way that they are currently listed. You did have a slight price increase due to CPI.
Right,
but
and we
other than
understand that.
Yes, rates will stay exactly the way that they are.
All right, Council, I think that's okay. So there's
I
no
was getting
increase in
long-winded,
what's
wasn't
going on with, I'm not calling it turmoil, but the politics of this whole recycling thing. Waste Management's willing to give us time not to increase any fees to pass on to our residents, and I think that's a good thing until we can sit down and see what we really want to do. So with that said, is that a good direction the council would like to go?
Beth, I personally would like to see this presentation, that I can study a little bit too during that time, if that's possible. And you said Matt has a copy of that. Is that correct, Matt? Okay.
I'm happy to get that to you. I believe yeah.
He said he can forward
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
And, yes, and I have other articles. I'm happy to forward those as well.
That'd be great.
Yep, no problem.
Great, so we'll do that, Beth. When Jason gets back, we'll sit down, work out a
Schedule
date,
the work.
schedule a date for a work session for all of us, okay?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you, council.
And with that, I just need a motion to table Resolution 1820.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you again. Back up to item number 1 on action items, consent of resolution, or consider of resolution 1815, approving ambulance transportation rates and charges. Chief.
Yeah, almost me. Council, every year the State Department of Health always usually changes their or adjusts their ambulance transport rates. So that's all this is. We do it every year. They did do a small increase in the advanced ambulance transport rate and the paramedical board transport rate. Those are in front of you. So it's just approval of this just to accept the new Utah State ambulance transportation rates.
Any questions, council?
Can you tell me what they are? I mean,
Again,
what the
yeah,
increase has
so-
been?
Yeah, so,
Just-
advanced ambulance rate, the current rate is $984 transport. The state increased that rate to $1,018, so it's an increase of $34 a transport.
That's good.
Paramedical board went from $1440 to $1490, which is a $50 increase in transport.
So that's about, what, 4%, 5%?
Yeah, about that, and they set the rates and we just kind of adopted.
We have to.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to go by the state.
Okay, I was
No,
just
it's
curious
great.
on that. Thank you.
All right, is there a motion on this resolution?
Mayor, I'd like to make that, Mayor Pro Tem, sorry. I'd like to make a motion that we approve resolution number 18-15, approving the ambulance transportation rates and charges.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Burrell,
Aye.
Councilmember Yeoman,
Aye.
Councilmember Tafoya,
Aye.
Councilmember Saxton,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 2 is consideration of Resolution 1816, approving agreement for countywide mutual aid and fire protection. Chief.
Yeah, that's me again. So, we have a 5-year mutual aid agreement. It just expired, so this is just renewing that agreement with all the departments in the county. I think in your packet you have who's involved in that, so I can answer any questions about it if you'd like. Besides that, it's just renewing the agreement that we've had. It just expired. There's really no changes to it. It's just renewing that agreement, so.
Any questions, council?
No.
Entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve resolution number 18-16.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Yeoman,
Aye.
Councilmember Saxton,
Aye.
Councilmember Tafoya,
Aye.
Councilmember Burrell,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thanks, Chief. Item number 3 is consideration of Resolution 1817, approving and entering into an amendment and restated agreement creating the Utah Local Government Trust. As you know, we moved from IRMA to the trust. This is just finalizing the agreement, and what's the wording you need, Andy? Ratifying it.
So in that motion, if you say approving, ratifying, and entering into the amended agreement, that'll be good.
Okay.
But we took the action on this because we had to have it done in the 1st of July, so the contract's been signed, but we need that ratified.
Any questions, council?
No.
Who would like to hit that motion?
I can go ahead. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we approve resolution number 18-17, that we are ratifying, approving, and entering into the amendment and restated agreement created the Utah Local Governments Trust.
I'll second that.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember Tafoya,
Aye.
Councilmember Yeoman,
Aye.
Councilmember Burrell,
Aye.
Councilmember Saxton.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next up, consideration of Resolution 1818, approving an authorization and execution of an interlocal agreement between Roy City and Weber School District for law enforcement service. Deputy Chief Perry.
Mayor, I could handle this really quick. I think
Either way.
we had talked about, we're just redoing the contract that we've done several times before.
For the
Reed-
SROs.
Reed Richards and I met with the school district, and we made some modifications to this agreement that we'd had in the past, but it's pretty much the same thing. It's being sent out to all the local agencies now for approval.
That's for both junior highs and the high school, right?
Yes.
Council, any questions?
No.
Entertain a motion.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to go ahead that we approve resolution number 18-18, approving and authorizing the execution of the interlocal agreement between Roy City and the Weber School District for law enforcement services.
I'll second that motion.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember Saxton,
Aye.
Councilmember Burrell,
Aye.
Councilmember Tafoya,
Aye.
Councilmember Yeoman.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 5 is 5:30 public hearing to consider approving adjustments to the fiscal year 2019 budget and consideration of Resolution 1819 approving adjustments to the fiscal year 2019 budget. Is there a motion to go into public hearing?
Yes, I'd like to make the motion. We go into public hearing.
I'll second.
Is there a motion second? All in favor?
Aye.
We are in public hearing. Matt?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council. I present to you tonight Resolution 18-19 to approve the amendments to the FY19 budget. We discussed this just a little bit ago about going to the trust. That's the primary reason why we're doing this. This is to put in place the funds to do so. There's a little bit of a payout. This is money that we owed IRMA before, and part of the agreement to get out was to pay for this. That's the only added funds that we're asking for. Why we're doing the budget adjustment, we wanted to put back into place some funds that we had in previous years that we did not expend, or just items that the council has directed us to do so. So some of those are the bathrooms at the DRNG Trail, the remaining funds for North Park, water meters, and a chiller for the city building. So anyway, I would recommend that you approve Resolution 18-19, adjusting FY19 budget.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
Any questions?
General public, this is a public hearing. Would anybody like to speak on this topic? All right, seeing none. Is there a motion to go out of public hearing?
Make the motion. We go out of public hearing.
Second.
Been motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 We're now out of public hearing. Council, have any questions on this resolution?
No, I think it's a good thing for us to move into the trust, so I think it's a good thing to go ahead and adjust that budget.
I guess I do have a question, but maybe we don't know this yet. How much does it save us
long
jumping
run.
into the trust?
Going into the
long run?
trust, it's about $15,000 a year, and then we're not liable for like the attorney's fees. We have them on call. Before we were paying for some of those things. So there's
That we
There's
were not using.
subjective things depending on our usage, but the overall, the liability, we're going to be fully insured versus kind of a self-insured that they pay up front, and then we owe that money back. And that's the reason why we need this funds, is we owe 5 years worth of stuff that's happened that we have to now pay back in full now. And so
We won't have to do
And we
that in the
wouldn't have to do
future.
that
we
in-
wouldn't have
with
to
the
do that
trust.
anymore.
That's
We're
the big
fully-
difference
we're
right
fully
there.
insured. We
Yeah.
pay our premiums at $13,000 less than we're currently paying, and then we're fully insured, so we don't have that payback.
Okay. All right. I was just curious.
Help us in the long run.
Entertain a motion on Resolution 18-19.
I'll make a motion that we entertain consideration of Resolution 18-19, approving adjustments to the fiscal year 2019 budget.
I'll second that motion.
It's been motion second, roll call vote.
Do I roll call? Councilmember Burrell?
Aye.
Councilmember Tafoya?
Aye.
Councilmember Yeoman?
Aye.
Councilmember Saxton?
Aye.
Councilmember Paul?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 6, consideration of ordinance 1815, amending Title 10 of the Royce City Municipal Code by adding Section 1010-43 swimming pool private. Talked about this before, and what did we come back up
Yeah,
with,
what'd you
Steve?
find out?
Well, the council, good evening, first thing. The council, you guys had requested kind of look at other cities, kind of bring some definitions of what other cities have done and do, and then kind of bring back a kind of a recommendation. In your packet, I didn't change ordinance 1815 to reflect anything, because I wanted to kind of get your guys' opinions first, but let me kind of highlight a few things that I did see. Again, just the existing ordinance that it was proposed last time. But as you go through, I highlighted what our ordinance used to have. This is all in your packet, so. What we used to have in the ordinance in 1973 and 2004, the only difference was just what section and what title it was in. Really, the definition that's there, or was there, was the same since 1973. Going through other cities, there were some things that I kind of stood out. Clearfield, it really just says anything that's 30 inches deep. So that, I know this was the part of the issue that we talked about. Bountiful kind of went into a little different of definition, saying, okay, if you're gonna be an in-ground pool that's 24 inches deep, or an above-ground pool that's 30 inches deep. So again, it gave you two different scenarios and types. And then Layton, this one was a little different than everybody else. It was, regardless if it was in ground or above ground, if it was 24 inches deep or had a capacity of 2,500 gallons. So again, they kind of said, okay, it's going to be a somewhat big pool that you're going to have. So to me, I highlighted those three. I could have gone through all the other cities that I put in your packet, but to me they were really just, here's a pool, that's where it's going to be. They didn't really define it. These ones, I really liked the way it was defined. I gave you. Oh,
Can I
question.
ask just a question?
Yep.
So I know our conversation last time we had was you go to Walmart and you pick up one of those pools and you bring it home. Okay, and maybe I'm totally off, but
You know?
what is there we go. Thank you. Thank you. I was just going to get what's that average height?
Well,
Okay.
again, you have the top left is 48 inches, the middle top is 42, the top right is 52 inches, the bottom one left is 30 inches,
Okay,
and the bottom right is 52.
okay,
Again, and on these, it's 5,500 gallons, 2,800 gallons, 12,000 gallons, 1,200 gallons, and 14,000 gallons. So to me, really, the way all the other cities have kind of that I highlighted on depth and gallons,
yeah.
that bottom left one fits that as it would be less than those required. If you went 24 inches deep and left it at that, then all of these, as shown, would be, but if you went kind of, I don't know if we can go backwards. If you
To
went
the
through
gallons.
Layton's, it was
Yeah.
24 inches deep or a capacity. So it could be a 30-inch deep pool, but like this bottom one, it's only 1,200 gallons, so it wouldn't
Fall into that.
qualify underneath that rule. So something that I've kind of looked at is, let's change it a little bit. It's not that the fence was an issue, it wasn't that a self-locking gate was an issue, it was the size. So whether it be above ground or below ground that has 24 inches deep or more, or, and I did it 2,000 gallons, we could go to 2,500 if that's what you really like, but to me, I think this would meet your guys' concerns from last time, giving those options that it's this big or that many gallons.
You know, for me, for me, my hangup is still the inches. 2 feet's there. Okay, that's kind of seems.
Yeah, it's pretty
But I
small.
think if we go to 30 to 36, which is a little under 3 feet, 3 feet or a little bit lower, and the capacity of gallons, I think that would be a good compromise.
And
I like
we-
the 30
We can
inches.
go 30 inches and then
Yeah.
bump it up to 2,500 gallons,
I-
or leave it at 2,000, either way. I just took a shot of the dark and
What do you think, Councilmember
Show you what a
Saxon?
change
You're over there
can look like.
thinking about it.
Well, actually, I was a reporter covering Layton when they put theirs in place. And I always liked that they went with gallons, only because it gives you more of a text of how much volume of water you're dealing with.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so,
Steve, what was that prior picture,
I
gallons?
could buy a little thing that's 30 inches high, but my gallons isn't really there.
That's
Little
right.
pool,
Bottom
right.
left,
Right.
what
the
gallons is
bottom
that?
left is 30 inches deep and it's 1,236 gallons.
see,
Because it's 10 by 30 inches.
So if we go 30 inches, and
Mm-hmm.
how many gallons would be appropriate, Council? What would you be good with? 2,000 or 25?
I threw up 2,000, again, it's just a shot in the dark, but if we could, Layton it does have 2,500.
The pools?
oh,
Which one of those has 2,500?
The closest one is the top middle, but that's 42 inches deep.
Right, so this,
right.
you-
and
Yeah, so
that-
that's-
that
The
would-
bottom left is 10 feet, a 10-foot circle, 30 inches deep is
'Cause I
1,200.
think the average person, like buying, going to Walmart and picking up a pool, is your bottom left.
Probably. I mean, a lot of them are that 48 inches, but again, it's an 18-foot pool, so it's
Yeah.
a lot larger. So I think it's more capacities, you know, is it 2,000 or 2,500? Or more or less, depending on what you guys would like.
Comments, any council? What numbers do you
I'm-
like good?
The number I like 30 inches. To me,
I do too.
22,000 or
Okay.
2,500.
I think we go a little bit conservative on it in that we go
And
with
the two-
2,500, giving our citizens more option. I don't think we're gonna get,
That'd give them,
A wider
less.
pool.
yeah.
we've got.
I just said
All
24
pools
inches
are
and
located in the
2,000
rear
gallons, but
side.
So I'd say 30 and 2,500.
At least 5 feet from all property lines.
Well, the rest, it's
The rest
locations,
of it
5
isn't-
feet from property lines, 15 feet from your neighbor's house.
Yeah. I think
Has a
that sounds
6-foot
good.
fence that's got a self-closing, self-locking gate.
It's got
Um,
self-locking
The
gate.
fence, well, this is
That's
another one,
Fence and gate
it's only
shall not
4
be
inches wide, so
inside
little
and
kids
4
really
feet
can't
out.
get through it if you're
There's
doing
my
a,
concern.
anything
we
else,
go
and then,
not
of course, your
enough
lighting
gallons,
is lighted at the
some
pool,
guy
not the
that
neighbor's.
goes into Walmart is gonna end up buying a pool.
It's just
that sure
Put a
as
rope on it.
more gallons
Yeah.
than we have now.
So, his
There's
definition.
so many people out there in the morning.
All right, council, looking for direction.
Say that again, Brian, say it out loud.
He's,
Well, my concern is, I don't want to put the people that are going down to Walmart for a splash pool under the microscope. But in turn,
I
we need something that's
say,
safe and something that we can actually enforce too.
Yeah.
'cause that's hard, that's a
I
hard
mean, if it
one.
wasn't taken out, the previous definitions would have
Yeah, we
just
gotta go
remained
through
in, but I think here we get the opportunity to
You
kind of
wouldn't have me over anyway.
not look at those small splash pools.
Right, that's.
Yeah,
I think this takes care of that. If we put the 30 and 25, that's took care of. They're not in that
Okay.
group anymore because of the gallon size there.
If you guys think that's safe
Yeah.
enough,
I do.
well, I think with all the other,
If we look at it, I think.
you know, all the other restrictions that we've put
That are
on
required
it, you know,
in
with
there
the,
already,
yeah,
yeah.
the, you know, the gates and the, you know, and the locks and so many feet away from, you know, your fencing and everything. I think we've, you know, put those restrictions on and they're good.
How many, do we have any idea
I don't
how
think-
many pools this is
I
gonna
know last
impact?
year I
We're not
approved
getting-
No.
5.
You approved 5? Were they in ground?
Yeah, all of them were in ground. Well,
Because
I
I
take
mean,
that back. There was 2 above ground, but they were building decks around them.
Well, the
okay,
guy
because
that
if I
came
was
in
gonna
was
be
above ground.
like building a pool, I would think, yeah, I would need a
You
permit if I was
consider
doing an in-ground.
Right,
Probably
above
also if
ground,
I was.
most, your average citizen isn't gonna
No,
come to the city
above
and get a
ground, I
permit
don't
for that.
know. If,
They
it-
just
yeah,
need
the average citizen's gonna come in
The
and think
tricky
that they've
part
gotta
comes in,
get a
the building
permit.
permit isn't necessarily for the pool, it's all the electrical equipment that goes with it.
Ah, got it.
That's when you need the
That's for an
permit.
in-ground.
Even above
And
ground.
or above
Even
ground.
above ground.
You're gonna have a filter system and everything that goes with it. You'll do your electrical and all of a sudden,
But a hot tub
building
is
code kicks
Apparently,
in.
we have 6 pools that need to comply. And it's not in my backyard. All right. if-
And I didn't hear a comment. from
I make a
anybody.
motion, I make a motion that we consider ordinance 1815 by amending it to 30 inches and, or 2,500 gallons.
Okay.
They're- Yeah.
Okay, that's been motioned. Is there a second?
I'll second that
Was I
motion.
clear enough on that?
I think
Sorry.
you're fine.
One last question,
Okay,
I promise. How much is the permit for a pool?
I really don't know. It based on, usually it's how many inspections it takes, and if it's just an electrical inspection, it's 1. And so you're probably looking under $40.
Oh,
Now, if it's an
Really?
in-ground one, then there's probably more, because you do have rebar, depending on how you're building it,
Is
but
that every time you
So-
put it up?
you have to talk to the building department about, I don't know.
So if you go to Walmart, don't you just plug, does it just plug in?
There's a little bit
Oh,
more,
see, okay,
depending
I
on the
don't
size
have,
of
I've
your
never
pools,
bought
but-
one, so I have no idea.
All right, questions been asked and answered.
Okay.
There's been
All right.
a motion and a second on the resolution. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Yeoman.
Aye.
Councilmember Saxton.
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Nay.
Councilmember Tafoya.
Aye.
Councilmember Burrell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, item 7 is reappointment of planning commission members Jason Svar and Ryan Cowley. Gentlemen here? Yes?
Jason.
Ryan,
is.
Jason is?
I don't know if Ryan got the word, but
See.
Okay, Ryan did. Jason, you sure you want to do it again?
after last meeting,
Okay, great.
You
after
gotta-
last meeting, he actually had to chair it, so he kind of got
Oh,
bright-eyed and
Both of them have done a great job, council, so is there a motion to reappoint?
Make a motion to reappoint Ryan Cowley and Jason Spar to the planning commission.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Welcome back.
thank you.
Item F now is public comments. Time for anybody in the public like to make a comment, please step up. State your name and address for the record.
Hi.
Hello.
Glenda Moore, 2088 West, 3825 South. And I actually have notes this time. There is a notice that says, do I need a Roy City business license in addition to registering the name of my business with the state of Utah? It says, yes, you do. The business directory does not have any home-based business or mobile-based businesses listed. And some of those businesses are full-time, like Almost Anything Handyman is the one that I know because I use them. They were inquiring why they are not on in the business directory, and I would like to request that if a company has a Roy City business license, they be included in the business directory. I
Okay.
think that's only reasonable, because we use them.
Yeah.
We can do
fine.
that.
Yeah.
Soon-
you-
yeah, we'll correct
yeah,
that.
No,
Okay,
good,
great.
good.
I was gonna ask Jason what the status is of Roy City enacting a policy for lawn care with culinary water to match secondary water rules, but he's not here, so I'll just, if anybody knows what the status is, that
I
would
don't
be
think
great.
we've had
There aren't any status with that. And ultimately, we couldn't restrict the culinary use because it is used for other things besides the lawn care. So that would make it difficult and legal.
But
The
what
watering
if
the
we-
lawn of it.
You-
I talked to
yeah.
Jason about it briefly, and he was gonna talk to.
We can look,
Russell about it.
we'll have Andy look into the legalities of it.
I think it would be a lot easier on people if if it was consistent, because people see businesses, usually businesses, that are running their water all day, you know, during the day. And you get concerned because, you know, then you're pointing fingers at a business saying, well, they get to run their water and yet we don't. And they
But
don't
ulti-
understand.
I
that
get what
the
you're saying, but
some are secondary
ultimately,
and
we
some are
couldn't
colored.
turn off a person's water for their, because of that, because they still have to have it to live, so. Yeah, it'd be-
Water, and I don't think.
It's
we
good
should
to
do
get that out to say, everybody, let's be cautious of it, not water appropriately during the proper hours.
that. Right.
Okay.
Okay, and the last thing, Roy City Days advertising. I think the newsletter was great. I would like to see the Roy Days website updated, a little more contemporary, include all of the stuff. I think the foam thing isn't on the Roy City website, the Roy Days website.
Or dates.
And I would like to see some banners. Because we have new people, and there's a surprising number of people who don't read that newsletter.
You mean banners, like I
Yeah,
came out
banners like
5600.
over on
I came
the
out
road.
5600 today and there's one on 5600. I know
Is
there's
there-
banner down there.
Let's see if we can get one on 1900.
If I could
They will
add
put-
something too, we discussed this today, there's a Reagan sign, one of their electronic signs up there, and we have free use of that for a week here in the summer, so Travis and I had that discussion today, and they're gonna put something up there for everybody to see.
Then I think we have one that goes across the fire station. That goes across there, but we'll put that up closer to the week of Roy
I
Days.
think they're coming.
Yeah, and
I
then
think
all
they're
the banners
absolutely
on all the
coming.
light poles are all advertising Roy Days.
Okay. I just don't think people are noticing them. I don't know why. Maybe
Okay.
it's just, they just drive straight and don't pay any attention.
Could you get them to notice them?
I will work
Could
on
you
it.
work on that, Glenn?
I've been posting highlights of what's gonna happen to Roy Days every
Thank you.
day,
Thank
starting
you.
about 3 days ago. And
coming.
So, through when it starts, I'm gonna start doing that in the Facebook groups to get people's attention so that they will go.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Salmon big tickets.
My name's Angela. I've been a member of Roy for almost the entire time I've been married. And my husband and I had separated in 2017, and he moved to West Haven, just a half a block outside of Roy City. On May 12th, I had to call 911. He had passed away. And it was very, very comforting that my Roy City Fire Department was the first people on the scene. There were firemen that had coached my son in football and in baseball, and how comforting it was that I knew the name of one of the people that came in the door to help me in my moment of need. And when I saw that you were having the countywide review and acceptance of the contracts, I wanted you to know, as a Roy City member, I had appreciated that because I was able to still stay in our home and my children were able to be a block away and have the people that were well-trained that I already knew and I'd already met through other organizations serving my family still. And where his situation was quite unique, I also need to tell you how wonderful your staff was with me, because I didn't know if I would be receiving an ambulance bill, where I would be receiving it from. Would it be going to Rob's residence where he had moved and things weren't even finalized yet, where they took the time, they researched, they called me back, and where he had passed away before they had arrived. I didn't have a bill, and I wanted to express the gratitude in that, because that was one less thing I had to deal with when things were already hard. And so, if you need my address or anything, it's written on the documents at the side.
Angela, just want
Thanks,
to say
Angela,
thank you
for sharing.
for your kind words during this difficult time that you're going through. We appreciate it, and our hopes and prayers are with you.
Well, I've had some miracles since then. I have a whole new life and a new family, and I'm just so grateful I still get to be a member of Roy, and I still get to have my same home, and that I still get to participate in Roy Days and all the silly things. My entire married life can still go on with a new life.
Thank you,
Thank
Angela,
you.
for
Thank you.
sharing.
Thank you for
We
sharing.
like to hear good thank yous. And Chief, do you know who helped participate and helped her?
I can find out, yeah, I'm not sure, but I really appreciate you coming, thank you so much, I'll make sure we pass it on, thank
That,
you.
yeah, that they get recognized for their help.
Oh, it's Terry? Okay.
I know that you do scheduling, and Terry can only coach 2 days a week for football, and football's 5 days a week.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kathy?
I'm Kathy Darby, 4069 South, 3600 West. I'm just a half a block from Roy, too, in West Haven. But I had some questions for you tonight. But first, I want to ask, who gets a home pool when they have that Roy Aquatic Park? I mean, my grandkids look
It's funny
forward.
you say that. I come home from work today and mine was down, and I asked my wife, why'd you take it down? Because we spend more time at the aquatic
At
center
the
than we
aquatic
do in our
center.
There you
My
go.
grandkids are coming in a couple weeks. It's the first thing they talk about when they land. Can we go to the Roy Water Park? And then I attend about 8 to 10 city council meetings every month, sometimes more. I've already been to Ogden today, and you guys always have the funnest, most exciting meetings. I just wanted to tell you that. And I have to ask you some questions tonight, even though I live in West Haven, because I go to your Roy Dog Park 3 to 4 times a week. I don't know if you realize how busy it is. I don't know if any of you go, but there's 30 to 40 dogs sometimes there at the same time on the weekends. And it's just an amazing place. I've made a lot of really nice new friends there, and they always ask me a bunch of questions, because I have some magnets on my doors, for those of you who know me. And today, there was a few ladies that were really wanting to know if they could get some trees, and because it was so hot. And I know someone recently told me that he was working on the Roy park, the dog park, and I wondered if you could give me his name, and I'll just give him a call, because I really can't remember who that is.
It's Travis, but Ross might be able to answer trees in the detention pond. Is it
Well,
allowable?
The problem is that the power lines overhead.
Okay.
The power company tells us what we can and can't put in that.
Oh, okay, I'll tell him
Yeah,
that.
I
And then-
talked to Jason about that, so that is actually power company property. They allow us to use it, because it's a retention basin, they allow us to use it for a dog park. But I talked to Travis about putting some things up there, and he said, we're very limited on anything we can do with that. That's why there hasn't been, it's not officially a dog park, it's been adopted as that, but,
Okay.
I know we talked about additional parking, things
Yeah,
like
I
this
haven't
to
heard
kind of
that,
improve.
but we, now
Yeah.
they park up and down the street, but we just love it, and we just, there's some people who, it gets a little slippery on the dirt sometimes, but you have all your signs up there saying, when y'all step in here, you're on your own. And just so you know, I am literally dogging West Haven. I'll be there again tomorrow night, because they have so much space over there, and they're always saying, oh, somebody's gonna do a dog park. One of the contractors is gonna do a dog park. So I am working on them, so to take a little bit of the pressure off you.
Okay.
But thank you
Thank
for your
you.
time tonight.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy.
All right, seeing no other public comments.
You.
Is there one? Talking about it? Step on up. Go ahead, name and address, please.
Carrie, it's not recent anymore. I got married a long time ago. My name is Carrie Brands. I'm at 5672 South, 2775 West in Roy. Been a citizen for 48 years. Love Roy. I want to say hello to everyone on the council, and I'm happy to be here. We have an issue on our cul-de-sac.
Okay.
Starts with the red curb. The neighbor, we all have 10-foot driveways. And they cut out an extra 23 feet, so they have 33-foot driveway.
Can you
The
give me your
city-
address one more time?
The what?
Can you give me your address one more time?
I'm 5672 South, 2775 West.
Okay.
Okay, so your neighbor cut out an extra 23 feet or a total of 23 feet?
Their total driveway is now 33 feet.
Okay.
So they had been complaining about people parking in the road. It's a city road. I've lived there, in that house, on that street, my whole life. They've been there for 28 years. They have had the city come in and pay 24 feet on the right side of their driveway, 19.2 feet on this side of the driveway. They own now they own 76.2 feet. We're not allowed to park there. Anybody's in just this far into the red. They call. I feel like I'm being attacked and harassed by them. They have been calling on my family for 28 years. Not one citation, not one violation. I've looked up codes. I have several codes. I have MUTCD, which is state. And I was wondering if not only did they have a permit for the extra feet of driveway, but how is this fair? There's 13 houses on the street. If each people only have their own gutter, can we not have friends and family? It's becoming an issue, and it's almost like the Hatfield and McCoys.
And I don't even have a driveway. I was the original farmhouse on this street, so I have no driveway, no parking strip, no nothing. I have to use the city street. And they're really making it difficult.
We've always got along. I never thought there was one bad person on our street. I now have since changed my mind, but they're getting vicious. They have a camera out there. They've called my neighbors. They've been there for 4 years. How many times have the cops showed up at your house?
We've had them show up probably in the last, I'd say, month, three to 4 different times.
For parking violations.
Well, what-
Gross waste of police.
The way they've got it, the way that the street's laid out is when you come down, the fire hydrant used to be in our driveway and the neighbor's driveway. They've since taken it out and opened it up, so it's ours and theirs is one driveway. And then they put the fire hydrant in the corner, and then our neighbors have painted from their curb over so far, and they've got enough space to park one car in the cul-de-sac.
So let me ask this, did the neighbors paint it, or did the cities paint it?
That's-
Looks like Ross got some
Ross, you have a
information.
comment on this?
Yes, we've always done it. When a homeowner calls us and asks us if we would paint red in front of their house, we tell them we'll do it, but you can't park there either. We have no ordinance that tells us we can't do it or won't do it. I've asked council member and mayor to have me do it, so.
And on this particular street, the Dodds aren't the only ones that have done it. It's been done by an apartment complex that's across the street from me. He isn't a resident of Roy. He's not a homeowner there. He does not live there. It doesn't affect him. He doesn't park there.
And he
So now
painted
he's
that.
painted the street red, so I can't park.
Yeah, I don't know who done that, but I'm just saying the one they're talking about.
It's gotten really goofy.
That was a request by the homeowner to paint it that way.
Yes.
And also, everything that I have looked up, anything that might pertain to us would be 4 feet. Like I said, they have 24 feet and 19.
Steve, do you know if they did come in to get that permit to make that size? I'm sure you wouldn't know that right offhand, but
Yes.
I haven't received a site plan for a curb cut on a cul-de-sac ever.
okay.
So they have now since taken 5 parking from us.
Is it old?
It's only been in the last, month?
He just
2
painted-
months.
Yeah, it was just painted.
Yeah.
I think, you guys, this is what we need to do. We need to have our staff go out and look at everything to consider the safety involved in it and also the possibility, half of my street's painted red, but we have access that we could park there with a special parking pass. So that might be something to be able to look into there. But there are,
They won't allow us.
there are many different issues, but we need to have our staff, be it Jason, Ross, and the police chief, go down and evaluate the situation. And then hopefully we'll come up with a solution for you guys that
I
would
would
work
think
for
that would
everybody
be
around.
Fair if, when they come down, they're fair and we're not shut out right away.
Yeah. Oh, no, that wouldn't happen for
Oh,
sure.
okay.
We'll make sure you're involved in everything, and let's just put everybody in the cul-de-sac,
Okay.
okay? Does that sound,
Councilman Tafoya, while you're being so agreeable, can we please have a sandwich?
a sandwich?
Sandwich.
Mr. Tafoya
Oh,
brothers.
I will hit my brother up for that. You know,
Oh, I'm like,
I try to get him
Y'all
to do
get
it
in
once
that?
a year, and that's like pulling teeth.
I was like, did we get that in on that deal?
Then one other question I had was, on the action items, why wasn't number 8 addressed?
It got moved to number 1. They were here.
We had to move it
What
up
happened?
'cause
What happened, we tabled it, we're gonna have a work session on it, they pushed it back a few months, we're not gonna increase fees on that, but we need to evaluate our situation with waste management needs to evaluate their total overall master plan, considering China and everything that they're requiring or not requiring anymore. So
Yeah.
we are
recycling's a
going to
big
bring
deal.
it back after we have a work session on it.
There was
and
no decision on
No
it.
decision was
This
made.
is the only thing I was excited about.
Oh.
I came in late.
I mean, if
so-
we're willing to take opinions and things like
Yeah,
that because
for
this
sure.
is where we're trying to figure out what to do with recycling in our
So if
city.
you got an
And
opinion on
so,
recycling, go ahead and state it.
yeah, if you have an opinion on recycling, we'll take that in consideration.
I don't believe it's working.
Mhm.
People aren't being dutiful about their sorting.
Mhm.
And really, it's ended up costing us all a lot of money for nothing. I was willing to do it. I was willing to pay the extra money. I'm willing to go the extra mile. I believe in the environmental causes and et cetera.
Mhm.
But our agenda isn't being met here.
Mhm.
We're just
Agreed.
paying for nothing. It's not being recycled because it has to be taken to the regular dump sites because it's been compromised by unrecyclable items, and that's, we can't get people to police themselves on it apparently, so I just don't, I don't really know what the answer is. I know that it's not working.
No,
And I,
that's,
for one, am tired of paying for something that's not helping the environment whatsoever.
Great. And for the
Agreed.
record,
No, thank you.
get your name and address for the record.
Yes, Deborah Harms, 2793 West, 5600 South. I've been there for 31 years.
Great, thanks, Deborah.
okay, thank you.
Jason is out of town till the end of the month, but Ross and Aaron, could you guys get together sometime later this week or next week to get that took care of or looked into?
Can I just,
Great, thank
because
you.
there
Tim.
was one area that that we did some red curbing in a cul-de-sac, and they did have some, like Mr. Foya said, some special permits or something that they would give out that people, if they were going to have a party or
Yep.
something like that. Has the neighbors offered any of that? Do you guys have any of those? Okay, because I know that that's something.
The one south of Emma Russell
Yes.
has that.
Yeah.
For 4,300.
Yeah.
So there are options out there. We're going to hopefully get something that works for everybody, okay?
Okay,
Thank you.
real quick,
Yes.
on, the secondary water guy comes down and he says, why is that painted? We says, we don't know. Fire people come down, why is that painted? I don't know. But before you come down and do some investigations, will you pull up a police report? Because I think they're kind of harassing me. And I don't know if that will play a part in it or not, but I would really like somebody to really put their brains together and help us because it's getting to be Hatfield and McCoy's.
Yeah,
for
the police
sure.
department will look to see how many incidents have happened down there, and they'll do their due diligence.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Thank you.
I felt great about that. Do
Okay.
you guys have anything else to say?
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks for
Hey,
bringing
thanks
that
for
to our
coming in.
attention.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item G is reports and discussions. Andy, city manager's report.
All I wanted to remind everybody, we've got, you have to judge that art show, 4 o'clock on Saturday at the library.
I was supposed to do that. I'm on it.
Okay,
And then we've got Roy Days coming up,
so this Saturday we have to judge?
Saturday we judge, 4 o'clock. It was in
Well,
our
that
notes.
seems
from-
early. Okay, never mind. We're good.
It was in our notes from
Yeah.
Jody.
Yeah.
And Roy Days, we're starting, July
July 28th is Miss Roy.
20, and then we go through the.
So then
4th,
Wednesday, yeah, the art show will go all week.
The art show is
And-
actually going 2 weeks.
2
It's
weeks.
going longer this
Okay.
year at the request of the library.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
And then employee softball game starts Wednesday, and then Thursday carnival, and Friday carnival, salmon bake, and Saturday. Everything, fireworks. What?
Fishing derby's the 28th.
Yep, fishing derby's 28th. I'm trying to remember.
Thanks for your hard work on that, Carly.
Anything else, Andy?
And city
Okay.
directors, I guess.
All right, council, any topics you'd like to discuss or bring up?
No.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Let's hear it.
Maybe. First of all, did Mayor Dandoy leave you with some information on the reconfiguration of the 4,000 South?
That
No.
intersection?
Yeah. Did he leave you?
We received an email
No,
stating that 4,000,
by
yeah,
the
right in front of
AFCU building.
AFCU now.
Yeah.
We received some information of possible solutions to that, but that's all it was. It wasn't, we're going to do it for sure. I don't believe so, but it was possibilities that they could do.
Okay.
So they've been looking into it. Something could be happening, not sure on that.
All right.
Okay?
What about the reconfiguration of 4827
It is actually gonna happen, it's next summer.
next
They have
summer?
to do their environmental impact study. But it will be done next summer,
Good. I just had a lot of people ask, so
yes.
Okay.
it'd be good to know how to respond to them.
Councilmember Saxon, you had a couple questions. That was one.
Well,
Band-Aid off.
yeah. It's not a question. It's more of a statement. Planning Commission approved last week, am I right? Last week, there's a brand-new daycare, right? Preschool going in called Kids Town. They're taking up the vacant piece of property by America First. Not the property
Over behind
that's
Ocean Mark.
fenced, but everything else with a really quite a nice design. And
Good
so
news.
that'll look fantastic over there.
Yeah.
And, and I'd just like to point out economically that, Wendy's is moving with its remodel. Taco Bell is soon gonna start.
Hawaiian Lolo, I'm
Hawaiian.
so thrilled.
And, so if people are driving around noticing, maybe they'll think, hey, we
Things are
got
changing.
something going. Also got a meeting in 2 weeks. Don't know who's gonna go with me, but in about 2 weeks, I'll have a meeting with a theater group.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
See how?
Keep
Thanks
that up,
for
Brian.
Yeah, you might as
working
well
on
keep
that,
trying.
Brian.
Council, if you guys are agreeable to this, I think we need to start doing this when new businesses come in. Throw it up on our website. Hey, new businesses welcome.
Talked about
Throw that on Facebook because we have that Facebook and Instagram. We need to be doing a better job just getting that out to the citizens.
Yeah, I think if you do it for one, you do it for all, and that's
Right.
good.
And I know some older businesses might say, hey, that didn't happen to us. We say, you know what? It's just something we're trying to do, move on, and we'll be happy to throw your name in there too if you'd like. Whatever we do to promote ourselves is
Yeah, I
just a
think that
benefit.
should be on the front page of
You
the
can put one
website.
old, one new if you want. I
Okay.
mean,
So Morgan, if you can find a spot there to throw that in, even just on the front page, say, new
Yeah.
businesses welcome, here they are. We can leave that up for a couple weeks, and then whoever comes up. You guys good with that?
Yes,
Good
of
idea,
course.
Brian.
We talked about that.
Okay.
The more we can do for them.
Any other comments, council?
No.
Okay, seeing none, we need a motion. Well, there's a motion to go into closed door session, but I don't think we really need to do that. We can handle this right now. What it is a discussion about the Iomega building purchase. The land is worth so much money.
You mean Moita?
My fault. Yes, Moita, not
Okay,
Iomega.
sorry.
The Moita
Where's
building. Like, hey,
yeah,
we're
I'm
gonna
like,
do.
where's America First going?
Yeah, the Moita property's up for sale. It's worth land value is so much, and the demolition is going to cost so much to do that. That leaves an amount that you could bid on what it's actually valued worth to do that. So all staff is looking for is, say, is that what we would like to do to proceed to purchase that land? So we're not overvaluing it either, but paying what it's worth.
Have they come up with any kind of valuation on it?
Yeah, from what Ross can kind of help me out here. There's,
The state? The state has.
yeah, the state.
Valued at $870,000.
The state values it at 800, go ahead, Ross.
But the property itself, without the building, would come up with would be about, it's 2.9 acres. We figured it's worth about 300,000. It's gonna cost us about 260,000 to tear that building down with the asbestos, PCP in it, all that's in it. So you're talking, there's a value of $40,000 in there somewhere.
So just so you are aware of that, that's where, are you willing to pay more than that, or is that something that sounds good to us?
It would be a great asset for us to be able to pick it up. For one, we're spending $30,000 a year for that piece of railroad property. If we could turn that back to the railroad and put that money we're spending every year into the Moita building, or the
Okay.
Moita property, that makes sense. So how much money have we spent over the years? So if you start looking in future money, you know, we're spending 30 grand a year just to have a piece of property from the railroad, where if we could buy the Moita property, it makes a lot more sense.
It's almost the exact same size as what we rent from the railroad.
Okay, again, it comes down to a number value. It's not really, it's important that we get a number to say, okay, this is where our max is where we would go, but they're still looking into that. It is a closed bid process, as any state bid is, so what happens is what happens.
Who else is interested, have you heard?
I was, I was gonna hear, I heard there was multiple offers.
I've seen people walking it, going through it. Maintenance guy told me that there's been
Where would our bid money come from? What, I mean,
That would have to come from reserve fund balance, because nothing's been appropriated for it. It would be great if RDA funds could pay for it, but it's not in an RDA
it's
zone.
not in
No.
the RDA, no.
So that would deplete that fund balance and take us below our target rate, just being straight, of 18% is our target rate.
We talked
Well,
about
we've-
dropping
we've-
it
Right,
down
and we're
to
okay with that.
15.
15.
We've been 15 before, and then we've been back
Yeah,
up.
just know
so
that's
we can drop it
where
back down.
that purchase money would have to come
So
from.
what was your proposed number?
Well,
Three.
we haven't said it. The 40,000 is the value
So
of
we're
it.
asked the same.
That is that. But if you think it's worth more than that, you
I
gotta-
think we ought to be willing to spend a little more to get it, because that's not even 2 years what we're paying on the other property.
So what is the number value? What do you think?
Ross?
It's
You know
a
what,
close-
I could throw in a little something here. The mayor had prepared a white paper, and I don't know if you saw that paper, but I think
His suggestion was 100,000.
yeah.
That's
his
what I was gonna
suggestion
throw
was-
out. Basically, just a little over 3 years of rent, what we're
Yeah.
paying on the other. I'd be willing to go up to that.
Oh.
But it's not like it's a step, you're not bidding on it, it's, you make your best shot and that's it.
Yep.
I think it
I guarantee any
actually,
developer is gonna be willing to pay more than 40,000.
I think so too.
Councilmember Saxon.
Well, I do too, but 100,
Well, like
that's
Joe
3
said though,
years
but that's,
plus. Plus, you get into that old building and it costs us a little more
Well-
to.
Well, that's
Let's-
considering the demolition, is that correct?
Well, let's be straight though. Let's talk about that, because demolition is going to cost $260,000, which you're going to have to come up with again out of that fund.
fund balance.
Well, and I
So we're-
know if you've got to clean all that
Next year.
garbage out of there that you knock
You
down.
could, yeah, just leave it.
I mean, what's to say that cost won't rise? Do you know what I mean? I mean,
you don't know, but, I mean, you hire a company, they're gonna give you a price for cost to tear it down, and they're gonna have to do it for that price.
And that 260 is our city price with our people doing a majority of it.
Of the work.
Because looking at Bob's figures, I don't know, he mentioned 300,000, but I was doing some tallies on what he had there, and it looks like it could be even 340, so somewhere in that range.
It's hard. It's a prime location for us.
Ross, you
It really
know when they
gets us
anticipate
right.
opening up to bid?
Open and what?
When they're going to put it out to bid?
Well, I think it's the, we have down in by the end of the month, July.
So it's already open right now.
Yeah.
30th is when it is.
So we are looking for direction right now, council.
So you could give us a dollar amount, you could give us,
A
let's take the
range.
value of the property without the building on it, minus the what it's gonna cost to have the building taken down, and then whatever's left over. That's one way you could do it
That's
without.
about the 40 though, isn't it?
But that puts it at 40, so, or maybe somewhere like that. Or you could give us a more general if you wanted to say up to so much.
And it could be no one else bids, it's just a problem. And in reality, it's stuck in between there and us, right.
If we throw out a number, you know, anybody can see where we're at, but you can give us an up to number too.
What do you think, money guy? Crack open that wallet.
Accounting opinion, let's hear it.
Being in public works, there's multiple funds that we can take the money out of as well. We could split it. It doesn't have to come out of the general. We have water, we have solid waste, we have stormwater. Some of these utility funds are the ones that are going to be using the land. Right now, the $30,000 is coming out of water and stormwater, I believe. And so we could mix it up like that. The funding, they all have their fund balance, so it might not hit just the general. I think it's logical to say, to take the land value minus demolition, but again, you're at that $40,000. That seems ultra low for somebody to say, I'll take the building with it for $40,000 and sit on it for a couple of years. So it depends on it, you know, it's a gamble to see if somebody does that.
Somebody was gonna approach Senator Buxton about trying to get some help.
I don't
I'm
think that'll
Jean's-
ever happen because the state has multiple locations where people are wanting that, and they're not in the business of just giving away the land. So I don't think it would ever happen.
That's what I'm saying too.
Yeah, they did meet.
Yeah, they did. They met on June 7th.
Council. Is there a number we're comfortable with for a bid?
So or give us an approximate.
No.
So-
Okay.
So it's harder for somebody to undercut us.
Do you want to do that?
We have until the end of the month, so let's get together our figures, really what we need to do, and then have Jason send that out to say, okay.
We're
This
not
is-
gonna have a council meeting to vote on it before.
The end of the month.
Yeah.
Where
So-
are you at?
I
I mean, I'm just,
It's a tough call, I mean,
it is a
it's a
tough
tough call.
call.
You're looking 260 just for demolition. We gotta find that somewhere, but there's a lot of other more needs more than that for demolition. That's just being straight.
I'd say secure the property and then let's figure out over time.
because we could sit on it.
Tear it down.
Yeah, but if we,
Right.
but if we sit on the property, we're still paying the 30 grand, right? So we didn't
Is
take
there
that
enough
out of
room
our
with just the
budget at
property
all. We-
to
Yeah.
then
get
we-
away from the other?
We've still got both.
Probably close, yeah.
See, we might be able to just buy the property and sit on the building, but use the property around it for the needs that we're
And-
renting.
The
other.
basketball court.
And get rid of the,
I'll move my office in there.
But there is some good common value to say, if you put $100,000, you can recoup that in 3 years from what you're paying. So that's common sense right there also.
and it's
Split
good
the
prop,
difference, 75?
I agree, no more than 100,000, I
No
agree
more
with the,
than 100,
I agree with
No
the
more than
mayor.
100. But I think we can
But
go
that's-
range, just like
Well,
Andy has
You
asked
leave us
for.
some discretion there.
But how do you do a range? Because you have to.
You have to set a number, so you
know
can't
why
say no
I'd
more
rather
than that.
prefer a range here is because anybody who else, and there's other people who are
That's
interested in that property, if you say a number out here tonight,
They're going to bid $1 over it if they want.
That's true. That's why this was gonna be a closed door hearing.
Either way, it's just being upfront and
Up
so
to
people
100.
know.
I make a motion, we go up to 100.
then we'll leave that up to the administration to figure out what,
Okay.
we'll look into the
I trust your
values and all
Okay.
of
There's
that,
been a motion
and
for that number value. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Been motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Does that need to be a roll call? Because
It's
it's.
a value vote.
No,
But
it
we're
doesn't
not
need-
approving
this
that
doesn't
yet.
need to be a roll call.
It's just giving direction. So,
It's a weak eye.
okay. Anything else, council?
Do us well.
Don't forget Saturday at 4.
All right.
Saturday
Entertain a motion
at
to
4.
adjourn council meeting. Is there
Saturday
one?
at 4.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I gotta talk
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
disclosure.